Hello, 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 everyone. How is it going? How was your week? Did you get on the water? What's going on in your windsurfing world? What is going on? We got some action in the chat. If you're joining us, say hello. Suna is in the chat in Denmark. Not much wind at the moment, but he had a session on a 4.0 and a 76 liter. That sounds pretty good. How were the waves for that session? Ragnar over in Sweden says, not much wind. Max says the wind is maybe coming. Crossing our fingers for you. I have had a couple sessions since I talked to you guys last. We have had kind of typical Maui summer conditions, which is what you're seeing here in the video. So pretty windy, small waves. It looks better than it is. This day, it was fine. And if I hadn't windsurfed for a month, I would probably be all over it. But the wind is very gusty, kind of offshore. The waves are not that consistent. So it isn't as good as it looks in the video. The video makes it look a little bit better. But this is somewhat typical Maui summer conditions. We got Rasmus from Silt. Moin moin. Jorg had 3 sessions this week. Jorg is going after it. I love it. Dom Dom. It's been a while, Dom Dom. Good to see you in the chat. Axel had a nice session during the east wind period. Coach and caddy for his sons. What are your sons working on? What's their level? And where are you going with east winds? There's some really good east wind spots on the Baltic Sea. We've got Andre. Hello, hello. Punta San Carlos. 14 days of sailing. 14 days there, sailing every day. Most days with waves. Awesome. Yeah, San Carlos is an amazing spot. I think it's probably the best spot for learning starboard tack down the line wave riding in the world because it sets up so consistently. Every wave comes in almost the same way. And yeah, it's amazing. Amazing. San Carlos is amazing. We got Alexandre Matau, one session in Vicent on a 4.7. Sounds good. We've got Sebastian Seb, also in the north of France, but no wind today. We got a good French crew. I love it. All right, we're going to jump into the Facebook coaching. As always, you guys can interrupt me if you have a question or comment or concern. Interrupt me in the chat. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about from this session. What did I want to talk about? So this was my session from a couple days ago, a little bit of video from it. And because the wind was so gusty, I didn't really have high expectations. I felt like, okay, I want to just catch a few waves, get a few jumps, but I recognized as well that it was difficult to line everything up. And so when I did have a wave like this one, I wanted to really get some flow, work on the flow, and I'm pretty happy with this little one. I like these turns where you come up and connect with the lip right as it's starting to throw. And then a little bit of tail pop. So anyway, what else? Was there something else I wanted to talk about in this session? I think we'll come back to this because we were going to talk about downwind 360s. Let's get into the Facebook group and go from there. Suna said that this week's session was at Moon and 2-meter waves. Awesome. Sounds great. 15 degrees. That sounds amazing. And for those of you who don't know, Moon is one of the best spots in Northern Europe. Wouldn't you say, Suna? I think so. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I think most people don't think of Baltic Denmark as getting that good, but it is good. It is good. We got G. Luke in Northern California. Hello. All right. So Rich asks, where's the wind? Well, it sounds like it's in Denmark and San Carlos. You've got two places you can travel to. Yeah, San Carlos is amazing. So Jorg has a comment about the downwind 360s. So he went from a few attempts annually to more focused sessions last year. Now he's stopped counting when he does them successfully, and he realized that they just started to work. He cannot really explain it, but he noticed that many moves have parts that connect them together. In my case, so in Jorg's case, he struggled with the latter part for a very long time. It happened to be the same part where I struggled in the past when tacking on my weak side. Improving that helped my downwind 360. I think this shows how important it is to practice both tacks. Whoa, I love this comment. Yes, 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 100 times yes. So there's connections in it all. So let's look. So I've got in this section, we've got tacks and downwind 360. So here's a downwind 360 on the wave. This is something that is maybe a next step for you now that you're comfortable doing the downwind 360s, to start doing them on the wave. And one of the tricks is to really get going more downwind before you pull in the sail. So it looks like I'm pulling in the sail right away, but actually the feeling is that I'm going downwind and then pulling in the sail. And it looks like it's simultaneous, but the feeling is a little bit different. But so the end of the move, which is what Jorg is talking about, is this sheet out, pushing the sail forward, getting stable, and then sailing off again. Now, if we have a tack in here, which I know that we do, we're going to watch it, and it's going to be very similar. Let's find a tack. So here's a tack. Oh, there's not a tack. There's a tack. So the end of the tack, right? So there's the beginning of the tack, the end of the tack. So this one doesn't have the pushing. There's a more extreme pushing on the sail that can happen as well at the end of the tack. Maybe here we're going to get another tack. Nope, looks like not. Looks like no tacks were filmed, which is fine. You can still see what I mean here. We're pushing on the sail, coming around. So yes, there's a lot of crossover in all the moves. And so working on your tacks, working on your carving 360s, it all spills into everything else. So working on a variety of different things can be really good for your whole windsurfing. So I love it. So it makes sense to do freestyle, to do exercises when there's light or no wind. Yeah, love the observation, York. Oh, we got a comment from Suna who says, moon can be really good with temperatures coming up. The wind is starting to come ashore. We've been struggling with cold water and warm country, which makes the wind die close to shore. Difficult. All right, next up, we've got Alexandra. Alexandra's in the chat. Yeah, Jorg, that's your next step, is to start doing them on the waves. It's a really fun move you can do going out. And like I said, the trick is to start going really downwind. All right, Alexandra posted this video from Vicent and is wondering about bottom turns. Turn off the sound. And let's make this. You guys, can we make it full screen? Let's make it full screen. All right, so we've got this bottom turn. Now, there are a couple things that are making this a little bit more difficult. So, Alexander, you're coming from behind in front of the wave. It's small waves. It's not very crowded. So it's not much of an issue with other surfers. But in a lot of spots, this would be really frowned upon. You generally want to catch waves from the front, not from behind. And the other reason for that is that you can see the wave better. So here, because you're coming from behind and then going straight into your bottom turn, you have no idea what's in front of the wave, because until you start bottom turning, you're behind the wave. And so in general, we want to be starting on the wave. So you drive on the front of the wave, not you're catching waves from the front, and that allows you to see what's happening on the wave. And two, there's not much wave there, which makes it really difficult to do a turn. And there's a few reasons for this. One is when a wave starts to break, it cleans up the water in front of it. It makes it smoother. But because this wave is small and not really breaking, there's all of this chop in front. And so you hit the chop, bounce, and come out. Two is, all right, I think we're on three. That was two, right? So three is that the power of the wave is what allows you to do a committed bottom turn, because you are doing the committed bottom turn with the faith that the power of the wave is going to push you into your cutback. So as I've said before, and we'll say again, the bottom turn is your job. The cutback is the wave's job. And a lot of the problems that we see with people's bottom turns is that they're expecting to do the work of the cutback. And so they're thinking about doing the work of the cutback as they're bottom turning. They're thinking of doing the work of the cutback as they're bottom turning, which means that they can't commit to the bottom turn. They're not doing a U-shaped bottom turn, and it just doesn't work. And so instead, we want to be on a wave that we know and can trust is going to push us back so that we can commit to the bottom turn, do a U-shaped bottom turn, and get the high five off the top. But in general, this is just really too early. We can see even with the gun sail guy bottom turning that there's just not a lot of wave there. Maybe there's another. Is there another example? Because it's really hard to critique technique when the placement is wrong, because your technique is going to change based on where your placement is on the wave. And so I really don't like spending too much time looking at technique when the placement isn't correct. And I think it's a mistake in windsurfing in general. And I'm not talking about you, Alexandra. I'm talking about windsurfing in general. I'm talking about the magazines. I'm talking about other coaches. I'm talking about just everything, windsurfing in general, that it's a mistake to focus too much on technique and not enough on placement and timing. And so if you're not on the right wave and you're not at the right place on the wave, it's nearly impossible to have the right technique. It's just not going to work. So we want to make sure that we're on the wave from the front. And then what I would do in this spot, so this looks like Visson on a smaller day, is just really try to get one turn on the wave. Don't try to get two turns. And so this is a second wave that we see you on, and this one is a little bit later, but I can tell that you're thinking about going down the line. You're thinking about getting another turn. The video cuts off, but you're looking down the line. What I would do, I think, is the next step is to really focus on getting one solid turn that is when the wave is breaking and you're getting this high five moment. And so what that means is that you're getting the bottom of the board, the rail, the bottom of the board, so that it connects with the lip as it's pushing forward. So you get that high five moment where the power of the wave transfers into your board. And that's what's going to push you around into your cutback. And these waves, they look like they're pretty difficult to get multiple turns on. And so I wouldn't worry about getting multiple turns. Just try and get one really good smack. And you can be a little bit late. It's better to be a little bit late. So there's an example I have here that's a little late. Let me see if I can find it, just to show you an example of going late, because as long as your board is in the right place, you're going to get that connection with the power of the wave, and that's going to push you around. And so you can see also how much I'm looking at the wave. And so if you're catching the wave from behind, you're not able to do this. So ideally, you're catching the wave somewhere out to sea and then watching the wave and then trying to get your timing right so that you connect as the wave is throwing. And so you can see I'm pretty committed in this bottom turn. And the reason I'm able to commit is because this wave is pushing. And so I know that it's going to push me back around. So that when I come up to the cutback, you can see I'm not doing any work for the cutback. I'm just getting my board in position. And then the white water pushes the board back around. It does the turn for me, right? So you can see I'm not doing any work to cut back. just getting the board in position. And I'm kind of late for this turn. I'm a little bit late. I would rather be in the pocket. Instead, I'm hitting the whitewater. But because the angle is correct, it still works. Here's another one. And this is an example that I like. So this is not a great bottom turn, but this is a really good hack for getting the timing right. And so I call this the corner pocket. So you see that section that's coming at me. So I call that the corner pocket. And when you're trying to hit a section of wave that hasn't broken yet, your timing is difficult. When you're trying to get a wave that's traveling away from you, your timing is difficult. When a wave is coming at you, it's breaking towards you, it's really easy to get the timing right, because if you're a little bit early, you just go a little bit down the line. If you're late, you just cut your bottom turn a little bit tighter. And so you can see here, like, I end up doing a really long bottom turn. It's a much longer bottom turn than my other waves. And what I would really like to do, it's better to do a shorter bottom turn. But just to get the timing right, you don't have to worry about the length of the bottom turn. You're aiming for that corner pocket. So you can see that curl, and just aim for that curl and just get your board pointed in that high five position in the curl in the corner pocket. And it almost guarantees that you get the timing right. And so it's a really good hack for getting the timing. Is that something you can do here? I'm not sure. These waves look a little bit tricky. They look a little bit tricky. So I'm not sure if that exactly works. But in general, catching the wave from the front rather than from behind, really paying attention to what the wave is doing too, and then trusting the wave to push you back. Those are going to be game changers, and it's going to be difficult to internalize, because if you're not used to doing that, then it's going to feel kind of strange to put so much faith into the wave. I want to see if there's another example here. I mean, you can see again that these waves, they really don't have a lot of power at this stage. I'm not so familiar with Visant, so I'm not sure if there's a better spot to be riding. It looks like there's some guys riding waves farther downwind, which is maybe a little bit easier to get the timing right on the waves. But you tell me. I'm not the expert for this spot. But just if I'm looking at the evidence that I see here, it seems like the waves that are breaking downwind are maybe a little bit easier to line up the timing on. That might not be true. I've just got this little video to see, but I think testing your assumptions is also really important. So if you're used to sailing at this upwind part of the break, maybe try sailing at the downwind part and see if that ends up being easier to get the timing right. Like, trying to kind of see what's going on here. Also, in terms of getting that corner pocket section, if it looks like these waves, if you wait long enough and you stay upwind long enough, you can get one of those corner pockets on the whitewater, which will really help get your bottom turns tuned up. I know it sounds like it doesn't really make sense because I'm talking about cutbacks, but what is the bottom turn for? The bottom turn is for setting up your off the top. And so if you don't have a vision of where you're going off the top, then how can you do a bottom turn, right? And so getting a really clear vision of where you're trying to go off the top can then help you to get your bottom turn tuned up. But this looks like, I don't know if this is the exact same spot, but this looks very rideable, I would say. And just really try and focus on those corner pockets. Try to get to them as much speed as you can, and then let the whitewater push you around. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We've talked about a few different concepts. Hopefully it makes sense. It will make a big difference once you figure it out. All right, we've got another comment from the north of France. Tom wants to learn goiters. Come to Morocco. I'm only half joking. So I'm teaching a masterclass in Morocco in June, and Morocco is somewhere we can work on goiters. These conditions, like we saw in Alexandra's video, are not conditions you can learn goiters in. You need more speed. You need more speed, you need more wave or wind. It's not, it's just not going to work. And so the conditions for learning goiters are really important. I think the easiest to learn goiters is somewhere where it's side shore or a little bit side off. You can get a lot of speed on the wave because speed is very important, and you can do it there. Morocco, we get those conditions. So Tom, you want to come on the master class? I will make space for you. Tom was there on our very first master class in Denmark, and yeah, that was a great experience. So if you want to come to Morocco, Tom, or we've got a couple spots. So if you're looking for some in-person masterclass coaching, it's going to be a great week. Axel's going to be there. Axel joined us. Axel signed up for the masterclass. You can sign up at windsurfingmasterclass.com and then go to the schedule. You can just see here, and then you've got to apply. It's important that you're just mention a little bit about your ability, your level, what you're trying to work on, and yeah, but you don't have to be really high level. You don't have to be working on goiters to fit into the masterclass. We have quite a spectrum of abilities in the master classes, and I find that works really well. It's really nice because the lower level riders get inspired by the higher level riders, and then the process of teaching and inspiring from the higher level riders to the lower level riders is also really beneficial on the higher level. So it all is really good. We have a couple spaces left, so if you want to join me in Morocco, and Axel as well, then you can sign up at windsurfingmasterclass.com. I think I put the link as well in this live stream description. All right, let's get back to the coaching. So it's difficult to explain. The goiter is one of those moves that's definitely a lot better to work on in person. One, you need a lot of speed, and so I think side off is the easiest because you get a lot of speed down the line. For example, San Carlos is really good for learning goiters. I think San Carlos is where I learned how to do goiters consistently. So I learned them at Hoquipa, but then I used to spend a lot of time in San Carlos, and I think that's where I learned to get them like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, whatever my consistency is. So San Carlos is awesome. The other way that you can get that speed is with a lot of wind. So Pozo is also a place where people can learn goiters, but I find it a lot more difficult. So I think it's easier to learn it inside side off and then transfer it to onshore. But really you want to have a lot of speed, and then you do what Malcolm says, where you're doing a paunch on the wave. And so you're not trying to land it in front of the wave at the beginning. You're just trying to do it off the wave, land off the back, and you need to do it with a lot of speed. If you show me a video of you trying one, I can give some comments, or just come to Morocco. Again, it's a difficult move because it is pretty complicated to explain it just like this on a live stream without any video of you at least starting it, so that I have a reference point of where you are, because where you are in the move depends on what I'm going to say. Like if you go for a rotation and you start rotating, great, and then we can work on it from there. Or maybe you're not rotating, you're holding the sail too far forward, the sail is powering up and you're getting slammed into the sail, and then that we have a different set of things to work on. I guess the one thing that I will talk about is the wind up. So you want to get a lot of speed down the line, and then you want to make sure that that sail goes back, so that when you throw it into the rotation, you have something to push off of, right? So for a lot of moves in windsurfing and in life, we want to do a wind up, right? Like that spring, we're pressing the spring so that we can then push off of it, right? So doing a little bit of wind up as you go into the goiter gives you that place to push off of, so that you can get some power into the move. If you're already starting with the sail in the goiter position or leading into that goiter position, you don't have a lot of power, right? So you want to bring that sail back towards the tail of the board, twist your shoulders the opposite way of the goiter rotation before you get to the top of the wave, so that then you can push off to go into the goiter. But Tom, see if you can get some video. If you can get some video, then I can help you more. But just come to Morocco, man. All right, next up, we've got Andre. Andre's in the chat, and he is a lucky duck chilling in San Carlos. I love it. San Carlos, like I said, probably the best spot in the world for learning starboard tack wave sailing, and especially when you get consistent wind and waves, which is not always the case, but looks like it has been the case, and it's so much fun. One of the reasons, there are a few reasons that it's so good. One is the waves come in almost the same every time, so you can really work on a lot of moves. Two, you get a lot of turns on every wave. Three, the waves have a nice shape, as you can see here. Look at this nice, beautiful shape, but they don't have much power, so there's no consequences. You can do kind of whatever you want on the wave. All right, let's watch the video. Oh, this is just a bunch of pictures. That's okay. So one of the things, because the wave doesn't have a lot of power, and we were talking about bottom turns not existing in a vacuum, right? Bottom turns don't exist in a vacuum. The point of a bottom turn is to get to that off the lip, to get to that top turn. And so without a top turn, you can't really have a bottom turn. And so you need to have a goal for your top turn in order to make the bottom turn work. So this first turn is so early on the bottom turn that there's really not a lot of power pushing from the wave. And so that makes it hard. But that's okay. It's kind of like a little setup turn, just getting in position. Let's come to the next turn, which is more of a meaty turn, trying to get some speed. So one of the ways, Andre, that you're getting speed is you're coming in front of the wave and you're pumping. A more effective way to get speed is to stay high on the wave and pump with your nose pointing more straight down the line, and you'll get more speed that way. Here we're coming around the section. So this is an example like I was talking about before, where you are doing the work of the cutback rather than letting the wave do the work of the cutback for you. And so what I really want you to think about is the bottom turn is your job. The cutback is the wave's job. And so here you're already starting to move the board back towards the beach. I don't want you to move the board back towards the beach at all. What I want you to do is get that board in position so that the bottom is going to hit the wave, and then the wave is going to hit the board and turn it back to the beach. And so I don't want you to do any work turning that board back to the beach. Instead, just let the wave do it for you. It's a nice little rail turn. All right, let's look at some of the pictures. So, right, actually, we can read the text. So for the bottom turns, Andre's aim is to turn the board a complete 180 to reach the lip more vertical. He would like to carve more over the complete rail and lay down the sail deeper to the water. Pictures B1 and B2 show some of the better bottom turns. 3/4 of the rail is carving, but the sail is still very upright, and I don't reach the lip vertically at all. Picture B3 and B2 show attempts that are not very good, and only show part of the rail is carving. I think the problem is that he needs to avoid bending his mast arm. He noticed that it helps to put the sail arm all the way to the end of the boom. And when he does this, it's hard for him to keep his mast arm straight, even though he's not getting vertical and the sail is upright. And you don't really know how to change this. For the top turn, I would like to carve the board more and produce much more spray. The attempts in pictures T1 and T2 are the ones he likes the most because it produces more spray, but it looks like he's not really using the rail. T3 and T4 show not so good attempts, which reflect most of the top turns. Mostly the board is either so flat that it doesn't carve at all, or carves so much that he falls into the water. For now, he concentrates on moving the sail hand all the way back to the harness lines and to try to lean more weight on the heels, but still something more is missing. Okay, so good self-analysis. What I want you to focus on is what we were talking about with the bottom turns from Alexandre, which is really putting the work into the bottom turn with the idea of where you're going for the cutback. And so if we look at some of these examples, I don't think you need to worry about the sail and what the sail is doing. That can come later. Definitely having a wide grip can be really helpful, but having more speed is going to help you. It looks like you're starting a lot of these turns in front of the wave. If you're traveling down the line on the top of the wave, you're going to pick up a lot more speed, and it's going to make all of these things easier. 2 is really aim for those high 5 off the lips. You can get those corner pocket sections. This is a good example of a corner pocket section. And San Carlos is so forgiving. You can really just smack this. If we're talking about body position, so the one thing that I'll talk about in terms of technique, because everything else is more conceptual, is the bottom turn body position. And we really want to get more bend in the waist. And so you want less bend in the ankle. So you can see that you've got a ton of ankle flex. We want a lot of hip flex. And so you want your ankles actually to be less bent and to be much more bent at the waist. And what you can do is try to think about touching your nose to the water. Let's see if I can find another example. I don't know if I have an example in my video of exactly this, but let's see if we can find something. Is that making sense though? Tell me if that makes sense. So here you can see it a little bit. I'm really bending at this one. I'm not bending much. But anyway, bending at the waist, pushing the sail away from me, and then leaning forward is really what's going on. Let me see if I can find a better. Let me see if I can find a better example, something that I can bring in to show as an example. Let me see. So for technique, the main thing is just getting more bend in your waist and less in your ankle. So you're really thinking about leaning that body over. You don't want to be upright. It's not a position that you can do on dry land, and it's not a position that you can do without speed. It's not a stable position, because if it were a stable position, it wouldn't be applying all of that pressure to the rail, right? Because we want the we want to get the board on the rail, and so in order to do that, then it needs to be unstable. Because if you're stable, like if it's a position that you can do in your living room, then it's not going to get the board on the rail. I'm trying to find another example to show you. Just quickly looking. But most of my videos, they've just got too much else going on. I'll see if I can find something, and then I'll post it. Here's an example. I wonder if I can share this. Let me see. No, it doesn't let me. Doesn't let me bring in. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to get the Facebook group back up. All right. So those are the things I would work on. Getting more speed, so staying high on the wave and traveling down the line is going to make a big difference. Really thinking about where you're doing that cutback and making sure that you're getting that high five and the power from the wave is going to make a difference. And then the third thing, which is the only technical thing, is make sure that you get a lot of bend at the hips. We don't want to be standing upright. All right, let's keep going. All right, who's coming to Morocco? So Caroline's coming, Jeff is coming, Axel is coming. Yes, you can hire gear right on the beach. So if you want to come, yes, you can hire gear right on the beach from Bujma's Center. They have Goya and Severn. Cool. Yep, it's pretty easy to get to Morocco. All right. So if you want to come, there's still a couple spots. You can sign up for the masterclass. Link somewhere there. All right, Alexander is doing push loops. He's done maybe 20 attempts or so, and he's landed every attempt on top of the gear. He's pushing out with the clue, but still seems to land on the gear. So there's a couple things. One, pushing out with the clue, one of the main reasons that you do that is actually to stop the rotation. So it doesn't help that much with continuing the rotation. So sometimes when someone doesn't sheet out at all in the push loop and they stay sheeted in, then they over rotate, right? So the push loop rotation is really slowed down by pushing against the sail. Here's an example from me. You can see him coming over the gear and then pushing it out. But one of the things that you can see very clearly here is I'm not just pushing out with the clue, I'm pushing the sail forward, pushing it forward back towards the nose of the board with both hands. And that really puts the sail in the right position to land. So you want to think about pushing that sail towards the nose of the board, but it also could be that you're pushing out too much. So it's hard to say without looking at a video. But again, Alexander, pushing out against the sail can kind of stop the rotation as well. So if you have some video, that would be really helpful. You've got some comments from other people here, and then my comment about pushing the sail towards the nose of the board. It's also helpful to think of the push loop as a reverse cheese roll, where you're pushing around rotating around the mast. All right, we got Jeff in the chat. Hello, Jeff. Just like that, we are caught up. We are caught up. I don't know what my conditions are like now. They might be similar to this, or maybe there's better waves. I don't know. I went down to the beach yesterday. I've been having trouble sleeping. I had like 3-4 days where I wasn't sleeping so well. And partly that was my fault. I had some business calls that I was doing with Europe. And so they were kind of in the middle of the night because it's a 12-hour time difference. And then that messed up my sleep sort of for the days around there. And that really messed me up on the water. I didn't feel so comfortable. And you know, we talk about all of these different things for optimizing gear, optimizing technique, but something as simple as sleep can be so, so important. So you want to make sure, you know, if you're going on a windsurf trip, maybe you're just going a week to Pozo and you want to make the most of it, make sure that you have good sleeping conditions. And so when I was competing, I would actually travel with a pillow, travel with sheets, because I know what sheets I like, and who knows whether the hotel or the apartment where I'm staying is going to have sheets that are comfortable for me. And so I travel with a pillow and with sheets to take that variable out. Always travel with earplugs. I always travel with earplugs. And it sounds kind of silly, right? We're talking about really intense windsurfing technique and concepts, but sleep is so important. Sleep trumps everything. If you're not getting good sleep, it's going to screw you up. And if you're in a place like Pozo and you're going for a vacation, you haven't been windsurfing much over the summer, you're going there for a week and it's blowing 3.7, it's really important to be on your A game and to be well rested. So just make sure that you're putting in the effort into making sure that you have the right sleep. We put effort into so many other things. Just making sure that you've got, whatever that means for you, whatever that means, whether it means that you're getting some exercise so that you can sleep at night or not. Like in my case, I shouldn't have been planning my phone calls so late. That screwed me up. I normally don't do that. Well, sometimes I do, but yeah, that kind of screwed me up. And then it's also been a full moon and it's been very bright at night. So maybe I need a new face mask. And yeah, so it's something that I think we don't think about very much and we don't talk about very much, but makes a huge difference. So Andre says that when he was in Pozo the last time, his body wanted 8 to 10 hours of sleep, which is a lot of sleep for him. Yeah, Pozo is so hard on your body. One, the windsurfing is hard on your body. Two, it's windy like hell and hot. So it's like you're sitting in a hair blow dryer, which means all the moisture is constantly evaporating from your skin, which means you need to drink way more than you're used to. It means you need more electrolytes in your system than you're used to. And it's just really hard on your body. So you need more sleep than you're used to. And because with all of the wind, it can be noisy at night, having earplugs can be really helpful. Making sure that your mattress is comfortable, making sure that your sheets are comfortable. Now, you guys are not competing in World Cup, so traveling with sheets is probably overkill. But sleep is so important. Sleep is so important. When you're going to these places that are really windy, Axel saying same situation in Morocco, in order for you, one, to have a good time, and two, not to injure yourself, you need to make sure that you're getting the right sleep. All right, I am going to sign off. Wish you all the best. Wish you a windy week. If you want to join me, smash some lips in Morocco. It's coming up less than a month to go. I'm pretty excited. You can sign up. I think there's a link somewhere here. Otherwise, I'll post it in the chat. Post it in the chat. All right, I'm going to sign off. See you all. If you want to apply for Morocco, still a couple spots. Link is somewhere. It's in the chat. It's in the description. I don't know where it is. Love to see you guys there. All right. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.